كلية الفقه الحنفي تقدم.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. So alhamdulillah, up until now we've understood quite a bit of the how to split the inheritance up, a lot of the understanding, the theory behind it has come up a lot. And we also did right at the beginning, we did in regards to the table of the fixed Quranic shareholders. We did it from the Quran, and then from there we put it all into a table and we understood it all. That was just for learning purposes, so everyone learns it, so that when we come to these scenarios that we've been doing, the exercise we're doing, you're able to do the exercises and practice this. Now, what we'll do today, we will go through the details of each fixed Quranic shareholder, the Dhawil Furud. So going in the order that we went through, so father, paternal grandfather, uterine siblings, then the husband, the wife, and so on. So we'll go through each person in detail now, explaining each scenario, because over there we briefly just read through the scenarios. We didn't really explain each scenario and give examples for each scenario. Here we will do explaining each scenario, each relative. We'll go through key factors to remember. We'll also give examples for each of the scenarios that come up. So if the father has 3 scenarios, we'll do an example for each one of the scenarios. And then we will also give you an exercise to do, a few exercises to do, practicing those scenarios at random. So hopefully by the end of all of this discussion, all of the fixed Quranic shareholders, their shares will be understood properly. The practice will be done properly as well. And as we go along in the practice, here and there where I see that, alhamdulillah, everyone's understanding, hopefully by now, very well what we've understood, I'll try to put in some new concepts, few new concepts here and there, drip feeding them, so you realize how to distribute all of those other types of, just to consider other things when you're distributing as well. So inshallah, hopefully, slowly, there's progress taking place. So anyway, the main thing here is that we're going to be doing the fixed Quranic shareholders, the Dhawil Furud as we call them, and we'll go through one by one. We'll go through each one of them. Hopefully today we should get done up to the husband's shares in detail, and we'll give exercises for that too. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. So now today's session, we will now do the detail in regards to all of the Dhawil Furud, the fixed Quranic shareholders. So as we've now understood the basics of inheritance, before this we went through the table and briefly went through what each shareholder is receiving in which scenario. Now we will do the details of it, because by now, alhamdulillah, you know how to write the scenario and share out the shares. So now we do it. Hopefully it will resonate. It will now really make sense to most people, and the scenarios will all come together. So if I show to you first, we will start off as we did in the table, try to keep the same order. So we started off with the father first, right? So here we have the scenario of the father. So we'll start off first, just going through all the details. So first, the terminology that is needed here, Dhawil Furud. I keep referring to, these are relatives allocated shares in the Quran, the fixed Quranic shareholders, as we say. The Asaba are those relatives who receive the remaining estate, the residuary they're receiving, and we already explained who these Asaba are. The agnatic shareholders, as we said. Then we come to key points that we have to remember for the father. So each relative that we're going to go through, we'll go through key points first, just so that we remember. So the first simple thing is that the father has three scenarios, and that the father will always inherit at least the minimum of 1/6. So let's just do scenario number one. There's three scenarios, as we said. Scenario number one is where the father inherits 1/6 only. This was where the share allocated to him in the Quran, and the scenario applies when the deceased leaves behind a son, either son's son, the grandson going down, son's son, great grandson going down, basically, and so forth, so on. Let's carry on going down. So let's do a scenario to understand this. I will ask you to do it as well, then inshallah you can have practice. So the father here we have and a son. So what happens in this scenario? Now to reveal the answer, father will receive, like we said above, will receive 1/6 because there's a son here, and the son is the agnetic shareholder, the asaba, receiving everything else. So we only have one fraction here, the sixth. So we make the divisor out of 6, the denominator, bottom number, and then we give the father his share, which is 1. We give the son the remaining, which is the 5. We total it up to make sure it adds up to 6, and it's all okay, it's all fine. So this is first scenario of the father. Scenario number 2, the father inherits 1/6 as his Quranic allocated, share, the fixed Quranic sharehold that he gets. Along with that, he received the remaining estate as a agnetic shareholder, the asaba. So this scenario applies when the deceased does not leave behind a male descendant. There was no male descendant left behind, meaning no agnetic male descendant, and leaves behind for a daughter, the son's daughter, meaning the granddaughter, the son's daughter, any of these people left behind and so on, will then mean the father gets this 1/6 plus asaba, plus the remaining agnetic shareholder. So let's do a scenario. We have daughter and father. Or you should have done father, then daughter. What happens here in this scenario? So to reveal the answer, the daughter gets her 1/2, half share, and the father gets the same scenario as above, 1/6 plus asaba, plus the agnetic sharehold. So here we have two fractions, 1/2 and 6. So what we do, we take group 1, which is the 1/2. We take the denominator, the 2, we multiply it by 3. So 2 times 3 is 6, and we make it out of 6. Then you give daughter her share 1/2, which is 3. We give father his share 1/6, which is 1. And then we see if there's anything remaining. 1 plus that 3 will equal 4. So there's 2 still remaining. So you give him the 2 as well. So 1 plus 2 equals 3. That's what the father's total share is. This is important to do like this. You might think that is tedious. Just give the rest, innit? Just keep giving the rest. No, because sometimes in certain scenarios, depending on how many people there are there, the fractions will add up to too much, like we'll do later on, and the father will only get the 1/6, right? The father will only get the 1/6. There will be nothing left to give to him as his asaba. Okay, so you still need to make sure that he gets that 1/6 at least. So that's why we write 1/6 plus asaba, because they may add up to more than 1. The fractions will add up to more than the amount you have to give. So there will be something else that will happen there, which we will talk about later on. But just to remember that this scenario is not tedious, it's not redundant, it is necessary. So here we have 3, the father's getting in total, the 3 that the daughter is getting, you add it up, totals to 6. So the 6 was your divisor, so it's all good. And then we have our last scenario, scenario number 3, where the father receives the remaining estate by becoming the agnetic shareholder. And this scenario applies when the deceased leaves behind no son, and so forth. Likewise, no daughter, no son's daughter, and so forth. In essence, leaves behind no descendant. So let's do the scenarios. You got the wife, and you have, for example, the father. So what happens in this scenario? Now, to reveal the answer, the wife receives, because there's no children, the wife receives a quarter, and the father receives the remaining, because there are no descendants. So in this scenario, we only have one fraction. We have the quarter, so we make the divisor out of 4. We give the wife her 1/4 share out of 4, which is 1, and we give the remaining, which is 3, to the father, and we add it up. 3 plus the 1 equals the 4. The total is all good. So these are the scenarios for the father. Now, just to do some questions. So let's do them together. So there is a wife. Let's say there's a father, because that's the whole scenario. The father is in the picture. And the scenario is the son's son. So that's number 1 there. Wife, father, and son. Now to reveal the answer, wife will receive, because there's a son there, the wife will receive 1/8. Father, because there's a son, will receive 1/6, his first scenario. And the son will receive, he will receive the rest of it. He will become the agnatic shareholder, the asaba. Now there is 8 and 16. 8 is from group 1, 16 from group 2. So we ignore group 2, we just go for 8. 8 times by 3, that's our divisor, which is 24. Then we give the wife 1/8 of 24, which is 3. And we give the father 1/6 of 24, which is 4. We add that up, 4 plus the 3, which is 7, minus from 24 will give us what we got left over. We got 17 left over, which we give the son, the remaining. We add it all up, equals 24. So we have done the scenario correctly. Scenario, or the question number 2. So we have wife, daughter, mother, and obviously we had the father. So what happens in this scenario? Now to reveal the answer, wife gets, because there is a daughter, wife gets 1/8. The daughter, she receives her usual 1/2 share. There's only one of her. The mother, because there's a daughter there, receives a 1/6. And the father, because there's a daughter there, receives his 1/6 plus the agnatic shareholder. So now what happens? We see that there's an 8th, which is group 1, 1/2, which is group 1, 6, which is group 2, and a 6th, this is group 2. So then we ignore group 2s, we look at group 1s. There's a 1/2 and an 8th. So we see the highest number out of them is 8. So we still have to take the 8, multiply it by 3, as we normally do, take the bottom denominator of the wife's share, the 8th. We multiply it by 3, and 24 will be our divisor. So then we do 1/8 of 24, which is again 3, 1/2 of 24, which is 12, 1/6, the mother's share, 1/6 of 24, which is 4, and the father also receives his 1/6 share, which is 4. So do we add it all up first to see what anything left over? So there's, starting from the biggest number 12, there is easier. 12 plus the 4, which is 16, plus the next 4 of the father, which is 20, plus the 3 of the wife, which is 23. So we have 1 left over from 24. So we will give father 4 as his 1/6 share, plus 1 that's left over as his asaba, agnatic share, and he receives a total of 5. So we add it all up, 5 plus 4 plus 12 plus 3, and it equals 24. So alhamdulillah, we've got it right. Now to move on, the final scenario or final question we had for the father: mother, brother, and father. Now to reveal the answer, mother, because there's no children, receives 1/3. Brother, because there's a father, will receive nothing. The father will now receive the asaba, agnatic sharehold. So because the brother will receive nothing because the father is a stronger asaba, stronger agnetic shareholder. So the father will receive the remaining. So you see there's only 1/3, one fraction here. So we make the divisor out of 3. Mother gets 1/3, meaning 1. Brother gets nothing. Father gets the remaining 2. So our total is 3, and we've got it all right. So this is the scenarios of the father. Now we move on to the second person we did, paternal grandfather in the table. So key points regarding the paternal grandfather, he has 4 scenarios, one more than the father. The scenarios are generally the same as the father. The paternal grandfather will not inherit if the deceased father is alive. That's, I think, the key factor to remember. So beyond these key factors, let's now do scenario number 1. So the grandfather inherits 1/6 only. This applies when the deceased does not leave behind a father. Father cannot be there, and does leave behind a son, 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 and so on. So let's do scenario 1, grandfather plus, let's say, 5 sons. What will happen here? To reveal the answer, grandfather gets his 1/6 share. The sons receive the remaining as agnetic shareholders. So now we make it out of 6 because we only have one fraction. Divisor is 6. Grandfather gets his 1. And the remaining, which is 5, goes to the 5 sons. So they get 1 each. And everything is fine. The total is 6. Scenario number 2. Grandfather inherits 1/6 and also becomes the agnetic shareholder, just like the father. This scenario again applies when the father is not there. No male descendants are there. And he does leave behind a daughter, son's daughter, son's daughter, and so on. So let's do a scenario. Daughter, grandfather. What happens here? So revealing the answer, daughter gets a half. Grandfather gets the 1/6 plus the asaba plus the agnetic shareholder. So we see there's 2 fractions, half and 6. So half is from group 1, 6 is from group 2. So we ignore group 2. Half, we use the half, the 2 multiplied by 3. So 6 our divisor. We give half to the daughter, which is 3. And we give 1/6 of the 6, which is 1, to the grandfather, plus the asaba, which is 2. So he receives a total of 3. So we have total equaling 6 here. So we've done it correctly. Next, we have scenario number 3. Grandfather receives the remaining estate by becoming the agnetic shareholder. So this scenario applies when the deceased does not leave behind a father, son, 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 and so forth, a son, a son's son, and so forth, daughter, son's daughter, and so on. So let's see the scenario. We've got 2 wives and we've got grandfather. So what happens here? To reveal the answer, the 2 wives, because there's no children, receive a quarter shared between the 2 of them. And the grandfather receives the remaining. He becomes the asaba, agnetic shareholder. So we see only 1 fraction, the quarter. So we make the divisor from 4. Give the 2 wives their 1 share. They'll share half each. And the grandfather, he will receive the remaining, which is 3. And that's that. So the total equals 3. Scenarios. Scenario number 4, the last scenario we have for the paternal grandfather now. So this is the grandfather will not inherit. Simple as that. Does not inherit. He is blocked from inheriting. This scenario is when the deceased leaves behind a father. As soon as there's a father, he gets blocked. So let's say father, grandfather. It's very simple. Father gets the asaba. He gets the entire pot. Grandfather gets nothing. So we make the scenario out of 1 because there's only 1 person. We give the father the 1, meaning the entire estate, and the grandfather gets nothing. So the total is 1. It's okay. So just some questions, everybody, if these scenarios apply. So let's do them. scenario 1, or the question number 1, we have mother, we have grandfather, the paternal grandfather meaning, and we have 4 sons, 4 grandsons meaning sons. What happens in this scenario? To reveal the answer, we have mother receiving, because there is a child, mother receives sons there. So mother receives a 6th. Grandfather, because again there's a son there, receives the 1/6 share only. And the 4 sons become the agnatic shareholders. So there is, in essence, 1 fraction, 2 fractions which are the same, 1/6, 1/6. So we just make the divisor out of 6. So we give mother 1/6, grandfather 1/6, which is 1 for each, and the remaining 4, should I say, go to the sons. So they get the 4, and they divide that 1 each between them all, and we have here the full scenario made, and the total is 6. Another example, another question here. We have mother, daughter, grandfather. What happens here? So we see mother will now receive 1/6 because there's a daughter. Daughter receives her half. Grandfather receives 1/6 plus the asaba, plus the agnatic sharehold. We see there is 2 sets of fractions. Group 1 half there, and group 2 1/6 is there. So we take the 2 out of the first group, and we times that by 3. So we end up with the divisor 6, and we give the mother 1/6 share. 1, we give the daughter a half, which is 3, and we give the grandfather 1/6, so which would be 1. So we add it up first to see if there's anything left over. So that grandfather's 1 plus the daughter's 3 becomes 4, plus the mother's 1 becomes 5. So we got 1 left over. So we can give grandfather 1 plus 1, equaling 2 total. So this equals our total. Then we have next exercise. We have mother, grandfather, and father. What happens here? So the answer, mother, because there's no children, receive a 1/3. Grandfather, again, because there's a father there, will receive nothing. And the father will, because he's got no children, will receive asaba, will receive agnatic sharehold. So we only got 1/3 as our fraction. We make this scenario, we make the divisor out of 3. We give the mother her share, which is 1. Grandfather gets nothing, and the father gets the remaining 2. Next person we have was uterine sibling, so the 3rd person. So the first 2 were fairly easy, hopefully. Uterine sibling, which we're calling the uterine akhyafi, uterine sibling, who share the same mother but different fathers. So key points to remember here, there are 3 scenarios. The scenarios are equal for both uterine brothers and sisters. Both of them, brother and sister, receive equal share. There's no doubling for the brothers over here in comparison to their counterpart sister. And they will not inherit in the presence of a male or female descendant or male descendant. So ascendant, should I say, male ascendant. So male or female descendant, meaning any descendant, wherever descendant it is, and only male ascendant, like father. So they won't inherit in these cases. So once we understood these key points, let's do scenario number 1. The uterine sibling will receive 1/6, and this scenario will be where there is only one uterine brother or sister, and the deceased does not leave behind father, paternal grandfather, and so on. No ascendants, in essence. Likewise, no children, no sons' children, and so forth, meaning no descendants. So we have, for example, husband, uterine brother, and full brother. What happens in this case? To reveal the answer, husband, because there's no children, receives a half. Uterine brother, as we understood above, will receive a 1/6. And the full brother will receive the asaba. So he will be the agnetic shareholder. Now, there is half and 6. So we use the half from group 1 and we multiply the denominator by 3. We end up with our divisor 6. So we give husband half, which is 3. You try and brother 1/6, which is 1. And the full brother receives the remaining. So there's 2 left over. And that's our easy example done for scenario number 1. Scenario number 2, where the uterine sibling will inherit 1/3 between them. And this is scenario applies where there's more than one uterine sibling and the deceased does not leave behind, just as above. So there's more than one uterine sibling, whether it's 2 brothers, 2 sisters, or 1 brother, 1 sister, however it is. So they don't leave behind father, paternal grandfather, and so on, meaning no male ascendants, and again, no descendants. So this 1/3 will be divided equally between the males and females, as we understood. So let's see, husband, 2 uterine brothers, and a full brother. What happens in this scenario? So now to reveal the answer, husband gets a half, 2 uterine brothers get a third because there's 2 of them. Now full brother will receive the remaining. So if we see that there is half and a third, half is group 1, third is group 2, so we ignore group 2, go to half. The 2 you multiply by 3, you divide by 6. Husband gets a half of that, which is 3. Uterine brothers will get 1/3 of that, which is 2. And the remaining, which is 1, goes to the full brother. So now, scenario number 3, where the uterine sibling doesn't inherit anything, so they're blocked from inheriting. This scenario applies when the deceased leaves behind a father, a paternal grandfather, and so on. So in essence, leaves behind male ascendants, or leaves behind children, sons, children, and so forth. So meaning leaves behind any sort of descendants, whether it's male or female descendants. So in this scenario, we see that this uterine sibling will not inherit anything, will be blocked from inheriting. So let's do an example. So we have uterine sister and we have a son. So what happens in this scenario? So as we have hopefully understood, the uterine sister will receive nothing and the son will receive the entire agnate sharehold. So because there's only the son receiving here, we just make the divisor out of the number of people. So we see 1 son, so we just make it 1 and we give the entire pot to the son and equals 1, so it's all fine. Now let's just do some review questions for the uterine sibling. These are the questions that we will be doing. So let's do the question number 1, exercise number 1. Wife is left behind uterine sister and 7 full brothers. What happens in this case? Now to reveal the answer, the wife will get a quarter because there's no children. Uterine sister, because there isn't anyone to block her, will receive a 1/6. There's only one of her as well. And the 7 full brothers will receive the remaining, so they will be the agnetic shareholders. So we see that there is a quarter and 1/6. The quarter from group 1 and 1/6 from group 2. So what we do, we ignore the group 2, we go to group 1, which is the quarter. We take the 4, we multiply by 3. That gives us our divisor as 12. So the wife gets a quarter of 12, which is 3. Uterine sister gets 1/6 of 12, which is 2. And we see 3 plus 2 is 5, remaining is 7. So the 7 full brothers get the 7, which equals their 1 each. And the total is 12 if you add up 7 plus 2 plus 3. And this is where we know we've got it right. Next question, we have here uterine brother, a daughter, and a father. What happens in this case? To reveal the answer, the uterine brother, because there is a daughter and because there's a father, for both reasons, he'll receive nothing. The daughter, because there's nobody to receive more with, so therefore the daughter gets a half, and the father gets 1/6 plus the agnetic sharehold because there's a daughter in the picture. So we see there's a sixth and there's a half. The half is from group 1, 6 is from group 2. So we take the half, multiply the 2, the denominator, by 3. We get 6 as our divisor. Uterine brother, as we understood, gets nothing. Daughter gets half of 6, which is 3. The father will receive 1/6 of the 6, which is 1. But the 1 plus the 3 only equals 4. So we know there's 2 left over. So the father in total will receive a 3. 1 for his 1/6 share and 2 for his remaining agnetic share. So here we got 3 plus 3 equals our 6, and we have given everything out correctly. And then exercise number 3, we have, sorry, that shouldn't have come up, but anyway, we got a husband, 2 uterine brothers, 2 uterine sisters, and we have a full brother. What happens in this case? To reveal the answer, husband, because there are no children, receives a half. The 2 uterine sisters and 2 uterine brothers, we just combine them. There are 4 of them. Don't have to keep them separate, but it's fine. You can do it like that. Uterine siblings, you could have written it down, but I just wrote it separately to show you how else you can write it. So because there's 2 of them, well, there's more than one of them, they will receive a third shared together with them, and a full brother will receive the remaining. He will be the agnetic shareholder. So we have the half from group 1 and 1/3 from group 2. So we take the half, we take the 2, multiply it by 3, gets our divisor to 6. So husband receives a half of the 6, which is 3, and the uterine siblings, they all together receive a third of the 6, which is 2, which they'll have to share amongst themselves, which they'll obviously each receive half. And we see that there's only 1 left over, which the full brother will receive, and that gives us our total of 6. Next we had was husband. Husband's key points to remember, he has 2 scenarios. Second thing to remember is the husband will always inherit a minimum of a quarter. He will inherit a quarter if the children of the deceased are alive, and a half otherwise. And there's no difference as to whether the children are his or from the deceased wife's previous husband. So it makes no difference. The children have to be the deceased's, and that's it. So now let's do scenario number 1. The husband inherits a half. So this scenario applies when the deceased has not left behind children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and so on. So let's do scenario husband and father. So what happens in this scenario? Now to reveal the answer, husband receives his half. Father will become, because there's nobody, no descendants, so father will receive his agnetic sharehold. So we make it out of, because only 1 fraction, we make it out of 2, the denominator of the half, and then we do husband receives 1 and the father receives 1, total is 2, so everything is fine. And our scenario 2, husband receives a quarter, and this is obviously when the deceased has left behind children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and so forth. So either one of them, there is at least one of them, then this scenario applies. So let's just do an example. Husband and son. What happens here? To reveal the answer, husband gets a quarter, son receives the remaining as an agnetic shareholder. We only got 1 fraction, 4, quarter, meaning denominator is 4, so we use that for divisor. we have the husband receiving a quarter of the 4, which is 1. Remaining 3 go to the son, and we have a total of 4. Is all good. So let's just do some review questions. We have these scenarios. Exercise 1, husband, mother, son's son. Now to reveal the answer, husband receives a quarter, mother receives a sixth, and son's son will be the agnatic shareholder. So now we have a quarter and a sixth, so from 2 different groups. So we take the quarter, the 4 as the denominator, multiply by 3, we get our divisor as 12. Husband receives a quarter of 12, which is 3. Mother receives a sixth of 12, which is 2. And the remaining 7 goes to the son's son. Total is 12, and we have everything correctly distributed. Scenario 2, the example 2, exercise 2, should I say, is husband, 2 full sisters, 2 full brothers. What happens in this case? Now to reveal the answer, husband, because there are no children, receives a half. 2 full sisters and 2 full brothers, they together will become agnatic shareholders. So they will receive together agnatic sharehold, where the brothers will receive double the share of their sisters. So now we've only got one fraction, which is half. So we make the divisor from the denominator, which is 2. We give the husband his 1, and the remaining 1 goes to the full brothers and 2 full sisters. Each brother gets double the share of his sister. Now notice here, obviously this equals 2, that's all fine. Now notice here, before we move on, that we didn't distribute it each. So we didn't give anything, because it become 1 divided between 2 full brothers and 2 full sisters, where 2 full brothers will count as doubles. So there'll be 4 of them, in essence, 4 shares, because we need 4 shares for them, and 2 full sisters will be 2. So there's going to be 6 we need from that 1. But so we can't really divide that 1 into 6 parts. It's going to be too many fractions. So we just too many decimals. We'll leave it as it is. We'll leave it as it is, as I will highlight later on. The reason being is when eventually this deceased, we work out the money that, because we wrote that each brother gets double the share of the sister, that's fine. Because when we do distribute the money, so let's say, for example, the money for that 1 share equaled to, let's say, £6,000, then it would have been easy to work out £6,000. Let's say the deceased left behind, £12,000. So first 6,000 would have gone to the husband. The other 6,000 goes between the brothers and sisters, and they will just divide it, where each brother will receive 4,000 each, and the full sister will receive 1,000 each. The two sisters, so 1,000 there. The brothers receiving 2,000, and that's the 6,000 amongst them distributed. And that, like that, it would be easy. So we leave it as it is, so that when we distribute the money, it becomes easy for us. Okay. And we just do last exercise. Husband, mother, and uterine sister. To reveal the answer, husband receives a half. There's no children. Mother receives a third. There's nobody to give her less. The uterine sister is there, but she's only one of them. So that's why the mother will get 1/3. And the uterine sister, she'll get 1/6. Now we see that there's a half, group 1, a third, and a sixth from group 2. So we just ignore them, go with the 2 denominator of the half, and we multiply it by 3. We get our divisor as 6. So husband gets a half of 6, which is 3. Mother gets a third of 6, which is 2. And uterine sister gets 1/6 of the 6, which is 1. We add it all up, and it equals to a 6. So it's all fine. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. So alhamdulillah, today we got through the details of the shares of the fixed Quranic shareholders. So the fixed Quranic shareholders, the details in regards to them, we're going through. So we went through first the 3 scenarios of the father in detail. Each scenario we went through where he receives 1/6 if there is a son or the male descendants. Then scenario number 2 we did where he receives 1/6 plus a agnetic sharehold. That's if there are female descendants alive of the deceased. And the third scenario was where the father receives the entire estate, meaning whatever's remaining of the entire estate, he receives the agnetic sharehold, the asaba, if there are no descendants. Then we went on, we did examples for this as well. We then went on to the paternal grandfather, and we did again 4 scenarios. First 3 scenarios are the same as the father's. Then we did the extra scenario, which is that he will receive nothing. He will be blocked from inheriting the paternal grandfather. That's if the father is there. Then the next person we did was, or next group we did was the uterine siblings, where there's 3 scenarios for the uterine siblings. First is 1/6 if there's one of them, one uterine sibling, whether it's the brother or the sister, doesn't matter, one uterine sibling, and there are no male ascendants, and there are no male or female descendants. So if that's the case, they will receive 1/6, and if there's 2 or more of them, they will receive 1/3. But if there are male ascendants or male or female descendants, any one of them, then the uterine siblings will be blocked from inheriting, will receive nothing. And then we did the husband scenario, 2 scenarios for the husband, and he will always inherit. Is one of them that always inherits at least a quarter. And if there's children, he receives a quarter of the deceased, and if there's no children, he receives a half. And we went through that. Now, just to finish off some exercises. In fact, just one more exercise I will give here. So I'm just bringing it up. So I'm just going to say the scenario and then I'll reveal the answer. So if the if the deceased leaves behind, shall I say, a husband, a mother, and 2 brothers. So you can write it down: husband, mother, and 2 brothers. What will happen in this scenario? So now to reveal the answer, there we go. So the husband will receive a half. As you can see, mother receives a 1/6, brother receives the remaining, and this is how you share it out. You give divisor is 6, half of 6 is 3, 1/6 of 6 is 1, and the remaining that's left over is 2. 2 brothers will receive 1 each, and that's how you share out this one.